Today's story is a crazy one of Wendy Williams, the queen of spilling secrets, who dropped a bomb about Drake to Kendrick Lamar. But wait, there's more. Drake's bosses jumped in and shut her down, fast. So what were they trying to hide? And why did they stop Wendy from talking? Aubrey, we've got a big problem on our hands. What were you thinking with a blackface? Seriously, Drake, why were you in blackface? This isn't just a one-time mistake. There's a pattern here. Drake has disrespected people before, like Puff Daddy, and there's proof of that. But let's talk about something else. Wendy Williams. Why is her team keeping her family and close friends away while she's in rehab? And why is she reportedly receiving gifts and scripts while in there? It feels like someone's trying to control everything behind the scenes. We can appreciate Dot for calling out Drake, but what if I told you Wendy Williams had already spoken up about him? She's never been a big fan of his. Back in the day, Wendy exposed Drake's troubling behavior, especially towards black women, calling out his anti-black attitude. But now Wendy isn't in her usual element. Why? Well, it's because she paid the price for telling the truth. Let's rewind to 2018 when Pusha T put Drake on blast. Pusha used a photo of Drake in blackface for the cover of his diss track, The Story of Addison. At first, fans thought the image was fake, but Pusha confirmed it was real. He said these are Drake's truths. Drake tried to explain the photo away, saying it was part of a 2007 project meant to highlight the struggles of young black actors. Drake's explanation caused a huge online debate. Some people brushed it off, but others were outraged. And Wendy Williams, well, she wasn't having it. On her show, Wendy tore into Drake. "Aubrey, we have a problem," she said. "What are you doing in blackface? Don't say you were too young. You were old enough to know better." But she didn't stop there. Wendy also brought up the ghostwriting rumor swirling around Drake, questioning whether his music even came from his heart. "You don't write your own songs," she said, "so how could anything you say really be yours?" Wendy was relentless. The blackface scandal was just the start. Drake was also catching heat for hiding his son, a fact Pusha T exposed. Wendy compared Drake to his own father, Dennis Graham, who left him as a child, suggesting that Drake might be doing the same to his son. Drake has enough money to keep Sophie quiet and give the boy a luxurious life, but he's out here acting like everything's fine, Wendy said, and his fans still adore him. She even threw shade at Rihanna, saying, "Rihanna, you dodged a bullet with this guy." And when Drake finally admitted to having a son, Wendy was quick to point out the flaws in his explanation. He claimed he wasn't hiding his son from the world, but rather hiding the world from his son. Wendy wasn't buying it. Wendy Williams wasn't buying Drake's excuses. She was sharp, sarcastic, and never held back. Drake's issues with women didn't end with his blackface scandal. In 2022, he stirred up more controversy with his song Circo Loco, where he appeared to diss Megan Thee Stallion by referencing the incident where Tory Lanez shot her. Megan hit back, accusing Drake of using her trauma for attention. If Wendy had still been on the air, she would have had plenty to say about this too. But Wendy wasn't just focused on Drake's music, she also dug into his personal life. Back in 2017, during his Boy Meets World tour, a woman accused Drake of mistreating her and getting her pregnant. The case was settled out of court, but Wendy had a field day covering the story. She even gave Drake some advice, warning him about the dangers of one-night stands and how important it was to set boundaries. But Wendy's biggest issue with Drake? His attitude towards black women. Kendrick Lamar once called out Drake for this in his track, Meet the Grahams, but Wendy had already exposed Drake long before. In Circo Loco, Drake's diss at Megan Thee Stallion only fueled the outrage. Wendy saw right through Drake's facade and wasn't afraid to call him out. In 2023, Drake released his album For All the Dogs and took shots at Rihanna in the song Fear of Heights. He tried to convince everyone he wasn't still hung up on her, but his bitterness was clear. Wendy had already doubted the legitimacy of Drake and Rihanna's relationship, calling it a publicity stunt. She believed Drake had a habit of targeting strong black women, pointing to how he also dissed Serena Williams in his track Middle of the Ocean. But Drake's disrespect didn't stop with Serena. In the same song, he called Serena's husband, Alexis Ohanian, a groupie, prompting Ohanian to fire back. Wendy had long criticized Drake's behavior toward women, and her takes on his feuds with powerful women were always sharp and insightful. However, Wendy's outspoken nature may have come at a price. Since May 2023, she's been out of the spotlight, reportedly in rehab, and her family hasn't been allowed to visit her. And there's been speculation that Wendy's being silenced and controlled. Even her close friend Regina Shell expressed concern, saying Wendy wouldn't stay this quiet unless she was being forced to. Regina's worry is troubling, especially considering she's known Wendy for 44 years. Wendy's situation has drawn comparisons to Britney Spears' conservatorship, raising questions about who's controlling her life. Wendy's been under guardianship since early 2022, and some believe she's being silenced for speaking out against powerful figures like Drake. Fans who once shrugged off Wendy's commentary are now starting to think she might have been right all along. One fan commented, "Wendy always had the tea. I miss her being on TV." Another added, "Wendy was always telling the truth and no one supported her. Love you, Wendy, queen of real gossip." Wendy and Drake's history goes even further back. In 2014, Drake and Diddy got into a physical fight at a Miami club during DJ Khaled's birthday party. The altercation reportedly started over Drake's song 0 to 100, with Diddy feeling disrespected that Drake had recorded it without him. Wendy, of course, covered that too. Wendy Williams has always been bold and unafraid to speak her mind, especially when it came to calling out major figures like Drake. One incident that stands out was when she sided with Diddy during his feud with Drake. Without hesitation, Wendy pointed out that Drake had a long history of disrespecting the hip-hop mogul. She even recounted a moment when Drake snatched a microphone from Diddy during a performance, a move Wendy found deeply offensive. In her view, someone of Diddy's stature and age deserved more respect, and she even suggested that Diddy's physical retaliation, a punch thrown at Drake, was long overdue. Wendy's no-nonsense approach didn't stop with Diddy. She was relentless when it came to calling out Drake's behavior, whether it was his conflicts with other artists or his troubling treatment of women. But now, with Wendy absent from the spotlight, there's a noticeable void. Fans expected her to weigh in on Drake's most recent controversies, including his ongoing rap battles and personal drama, but instead, she's been mysteriously quiet. And this silence has left people wondering, why has Wendy been off the radar? A blind item has raised serious concerns about why Wendy's team is keeping her so isolated, and it's hard not to wonder if her outspoken nature and willingness to call out powerful figures like Drake have led her being silenced. Wendy's accusations against Drake, particularly her criticism of his disrespectful behavior towards black women, may have made her a target. After all, Drake's not just any artist. He's a dominant force in the music industry with powerful connections, including industry titans like Lucian Grange. It's not a stretch to think that those in positions of power might want to keep someone like Wendy, who isn't afraid to expose their golden boy, from speaking out. Wendy's absence raises some serious questions about what's really happening behind the scenes. Is her voice being intentionally silenced because she dared to speak the truth? As we reflect on Wendy's career, one thing becomes clear. She was never afraid to challenge the status quo, even if it meant going against major figures like Drake. In fact, her willingness to call out Drake's behavior long before anyone else did shows just how ahead of her time she was. Wendy wasn't just stirring up drama for ratings. She was warning us about deeper issues we may have overlooked. Now, in hindsight, fans are starting to realize that Wendy's criticism of Drake wasn't just Wendy being Wendy. She saw things others didn't, and she wasn't afraid to address them head on. Now, despite being out of the spotlight, Wendy's influence is still very much alive. Her ability to tell the truth, even when it meant facing backlash, made her unique and an important voice in the media. She did not shy away from controversy or back down from powerful figures. She stood her ground, even when it was unpopular to do so. But now, with her out of the picture, who's going to take on that role? Who will continue to question the actions of someone as powerful as Drake? So, while we may not know the full story of what's happening behind the scenes, we can only hope that Wendy's voice hasn't been silenced for good. What do you think? Did Wendy get taken out for speaking the truth about Drake? And why don't more people take her word seriously when she was still on the air? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.